Yeah, change the goals a little. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our special Postmasters Monday edition at 11:30. We normally go at 5 o'clock, so I'm not sure if anyone's going to show up here today, but we are here just in case. So we will do our normal, kind of wait and see if anyone's showing up on our new time. Hopefully too many people don't come at 5 tonight. But again, this week, just one time only, have to do 11:30, and then we'll go back to our normal 5 p.m. So hopefully everyone saw the message, and there's some people hopping in here, and we'll rock and roll like normal. If you guys have questions, fire away. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the Masters. Yesterday was one of the best golf days probably we've had in quite a while. Whether you're a Tiger fan or not, just having him in play and the competition, the crowds, the energy level was like the old days. So it was pretty cool. So yeah, back here at Bethlehem, 11:30 special time, one time only. When you guys have questions, fire when ready. I'm gonna hit some warm-ups in the meantime and fire away. Hope everyone was doing well at our 11:30. There's someone comment? Okay, warmed up. Joey, when hitting a half or three-quarter shot, do I need to still get full depth in the backswing with the hands lower, or should hip rotation and hand depth be relative to, yeah. So hip rotation and hand depth are relative to the swing length. If we were to say in like a stock swing, you're neutral. So hips and shoulders square. By the time, like shoulder turn, by the time you're at, let's say to the top, you're trying to get 90. So let's say to the top of your swing, you're trying to get 90 degrees. I'm usually in a stock model going 30 degrees to first parallel, 60 degrees to left arm parallel, and then 90. So it'd go 30 degrees of shoulder turn to here, 60 degrees of shoulder turn to here, and then 90 or more to the top. So if you were doing a half swing or only a swing where you went to left arm parallel, I would anticipate maybe not a full 90-degree turn would be okay. Same thing with the hip turn. If I'm trying to get 45 degrees of hip turn at the top of the swing, it goes 15 degrees to first parallel, 30 degrees at left arm parallel, and 45 at the top. So I would expect there to be a little bit less turn. I think you're trying to get as much turn as possible. Same thing with the hand depth. So your depth of your hands, they should start just forward of your toes, right? They should work slightly in over your toe line, the first parallel, and they should work up and into about your right pec, right bicep at left arm parallel. And then from there, they're working up and back to the point where the butt of the club's over kind of middle of the foot or heel line. So when you're at a half swing length, I would anticipate more towards right pec here like this, and probably just shy of 90 degrees shoulder turn, and certainly not 45 hip turn. So I wouldn't expect you to have a full turn, but maybe a little bit more than you are at that point in your just stock swing. So hopefully that helps. I don't think you're trying purposely to get more depth or trying to not get as much depth. I think that's just where you should be. When you hit a partial swing, have a tendency to pull. Is that because of pull down, not enough rotation? I have absolutely no idea. I'd have to see you do it. If you're hitting pulls, regardless of how you get there, that would be a swing direction issue. If they're straight pulls with no curve, whatever you're doing is leading to that club path being a little bit outside or to the left. Why you get there could be opening too soon from the top. That could be pulling down. That could be a lot of different variables. So if you wanted to get rid of pulls, regardless of what you were doing to do them on the short ones, I would throw that alignment rod shallow station in and make some of those downswings where you get the club head working a little bit more from the inside if you wanted to get rid of those. So not as big of a group today since we changed times, it seems. So this is a good opportunity for you guys to have questions, so just keep rolling through them while I'm here with you, and we can answer a bunch of them. Yeah, half swing, full swing, I'm not really changing much. We just did a video today where we talk about wedge and iron distance, and I build in a distance with each of my short irons, where I build in a chest-to-chest swing, a shoulder-to-shoulder swing, and a full swing. So if I hit my 8-iron, let's say I hit my 8-iron 160 yards, I'd have a swing that goes 150 with my 8-iron and 140. So if my 8-iron's 160, I'd go chest to chest, so hands back to chest, hands through to chest would go 140, hands back to shoulder and through to shoulder would go 150, and then my full one would go 160. I try and keep the tempo the same on all my shots from 30 all the way to about 150 yards. So same tempo, one club with the wedges. You guys will see that when it comes out here. So Rob, how do you set up your grip for swing? So I have what I would call just like a traditional grip. So for me, you can see from here maybe. Can you see that, Mary? You're on a little delay. So if I'm on here like this, I try and get this V of my left hand to my right collarbone, and I try and get my right hand V to my right collarbone. So for me, I lay the club about like this in my hands. I don't go straight 90. I go from here to here across. So it's a little bit more in my fingers, thumbs on the side. I have a pretty deep interlock. Some people overlap there like that. That's fine. I'm trying to get both these to my right collarbone for a stock swing. Robert, purchased a new set of fitted irons. So far, I'm not seeing a big difference versus older tech. In your experience, how long until you get acquainted with the new club starts seeing benefit? Honestly, I think it should happen pretty much right away. Did you get your, you did get them fitted. You said, Robert, you said you got them fit. When I got my driver fit, it was better immediately. Like before I left the place, and it was better right away outside. So I think you should see a fitting right away. Now, of course, you need to get used to it on the course, absolutely. But I think it shouldn't take that long. So yeah, I don't know. I think you said you purchased a new fitted iron. So when you were getting fit, Robert, were they better when you were getting fit? Answer that for me. Rich, as you shallow it in the downswing, do you still want us to supinate? Yes, I do. I'm going from less forearm back to forearm down. It's really made my backswing better. Good. Just looking for clarity at P6. Yeah. So of course, when we do these videos and we talk about how much arm rotation, it's all relative. Okay. So like when we did that video the other day, there's a lot of questions on when I said, hey, you only have one opportunity for forearm rotation. You're either going to use it when you go back or you're going to use it when you come down. And the less you do going back, the easier coming down. Now, is there forearm rotation during your backswing? Absolutely. My point was just that you don't want to have too much. So there's some forearm rotation literally in the takeaway. So there's a little bit of forearm rotation, a little bit of right hinge, and a little bit of right arm bending. There's a little bit more forearm rotation to here and a little bit more to the top. Now, if you're someone who over rotates, then you need to feel like there's none at all as you come down. Is there going to be some supination late in the downswing? Absolutely. If you look at a stock swing, a good thing to look at would be back of the left hand at last parallel when the hands are about even with the thigh. The logo on the glove should be facing basically straight away from you with a neutral grip. And then from there to impact, it'll be pointing basically just right of the target and then just to the left of the target. Now, it depends on your grip. If you've got a weak grip at address, okay, so a really weak left-hand grip, the back of my hand is facing just at the target already. So at impact, I got to get back at the target. If I've got a neutral grip, my hand's facing away, probably 30 degrees. At impact, I got to get back to 30 degrees. If I got a really strong grip, my hand's facing more towards the camera, I got to get back more towards the camera. So how much supination you have from P6 into impact depends on your grip. The stronger your grip is with your lead hand or both hands, less supination at the bottom. The weaker your grip is, you need more supination and more flexion to square the face up. So you're definitely going to have some from here. Depends on where your grip and your face are at. If your face is really tilted down at last parallel, then you don't need as much supination. If your face is more tilted up here like this at last parallel, then you need a lot more supination. So you will have some. How much depends on your grip and where your face is at last parallel. Garrett, do you always put your thumb straight on the club for hand placement? No, I put my thumb on the opposite side of the grip. So the left-hand thumb would go on the right side of the shaft. The right-hand thumb would go on the left side of the shaft. Kevin, what's up, dude? We'll chat soon in the meantime. Yeah, still trying to get that podcast time together, dude. Hit a high fade with everything, and it's costing me distance. What's a solid drill to start develop lower ball flight? If you're hitting a high ball and it fades too much, your issue is face to path and dynamic loft. So when you look at a normal club, there's a set amount of loft here, which is the difference between the leading edge and there. See a little like V there? You're a Lehigh guy, you should understand that. Boom, boom. And you add more loft, the ball goes high. And when you lower the loft, it goes lower. So you have to get the loft down. And if you're hitting fades, your club face would be too open. I'm not sure how to show that here, but your clubs would be too open at impact relative to your path. You would need to square that more. Now, the $1,000,000 question is, how do you do that? And the answer is, it depends on why you have too much loft and why it's too far open. That could be that your grip is too weak. That could be that your left hand is too cupped. That could be that you have too much forearm rotation during the backswing. I would check my club face videos and dynamic loft videos, and those would be the pieces that would fix that. If I saw your swing, I could fix it in like 2 seconds. I just have to see why you're doing that. Tomas, I have a tendency to stand up in the backswing. Any advice how to avoid that? Yes, feel like you're going down, right? So always whatever your problem is, feel the opposite. If I look at the height of my head, if I go up on my way back, there's really 2 main variables during your backswing that cause that. One is extension. So when I start, here's me standing straight up and down. At address, I'm in forward flexion, which means just I'm bent forward, right? Now, when I do that, where does my head go? Does my head go up or down when I go forward flexed? My head goes down. Now, the opposite is true. When I go back, if I go taller, that could be me doing what? Extending on my way back. So that could be part number 1, which would mean you're extending too much and you need to feel like you have stay in forward flexion a little bit. That's option 1. Option 2 is you don't have enough left side bend. So when I'm here like this, if I had a little bit of left side bend here, which would be left shoulder going down during the backswing, where does my head go? My head goes down, right? So when I go here like this, if you feel like your left shoulder goes more down and in here, that will help you stay more down. If you feel like your left shoulder goes more down and in, that will help you stay down more like that. It'll feel like the angle between your body and your left leg gets smaller. Here's the angle between my body and my left leg getting bigger. You also could be straightening your legs too much. When I take a normal setup position, my knees are bent to the point where the kneecaps are over the balls of the feet. If I make a backswing and I straighten my legs, I also will go up, even if I have good left side bend. So flexion, extension, left side bend, and leg straightening. You have to see why you're going up and then fix one of those 3. Robert, how do you like the Mizuno bag? I like it. Just purchased 919s and need a new bag. I like it. I got that like 2 years ago. It's fine for me. I don't really have like too much preference with it, to be honest with you. But I like it. I played Mizuno irons like my whole life, so I like Mizuno. So I just got a new Mizuno driver. We went and get fit for a driver down at Club Champion. I wasn't supposed to say that, but there'll be a video coming out. But I ended up with a Mizuno driver, and that was about the last thing I would have thought I would have left there with, but I did. Best way to get rid of a slide in a downswing. I can post up my left knee. I got the Ariana Grande going again. I can post up my left knee, just stays flexed. Best way to get rid of a slide in the downswing. I can't post up. My left knee just stays flexed and goes past the pivot point. Probably the easiest thing to do would be to add rotation. So if I go like this, and I'm here in space, here's the middle of my body, and I move towards the target, let's say, let's call it from here to here, so maybe 3 inches. I move towards the target too much this way. If I do that same motion, but I turn as I'm doing it, it doesn't look bad, right? If I do it and I don't turn, pure lateral with no turn, it looks like a slide. If I do lateral with turn at the same time, then it doesn't look like I'm sliding. Then my left hip isn't going over the edge of my ankle. What's happening is I'm getting to the wall, right? Always there's a wall outside of your left foot like this. I'm trying to get my belt buckle to hit the wall, not my left hip. But I'm not going this way, and I'm not going pure turn. I'm putting them both together till I get on the wall. There's a ton of different drills for that. If you search my name and rotation drills or fix your slide, you'll see a bunch of drills on that. Steve, can you go through your putting routine and what you're thinking through the process? Putting routine, albeit different for different people, starts with a green read, right? So I'd find a way to read greens that you feel comfortable with. Aim point can be one of them, or just whatever you want to use. I like to go behind the ball, so I'm putting towards the camera. I go behind the ball, I read the green. I, from behind the ball, visualize my line. I walk up next to the ball, looking at the hole, take my setup. I do 2 practice strokes, eyes at the hole the whole time, and I'm seeing the ball on its line rolling into the hole. So I see the ball rolling into the hole twice. I take my setup, look at the hole once. I see the ball falling in, back to the ball, look at the hole twice, back to the ball, and then I go. Both of the times that I'm looking at the hole at the end, I'm seeing the ball rolling in the front edge. During my practice strokes, I'm seeing the whole path of the ball, but at the end, I'm just seeing the ball roll in. Trying to minimize time. between my routine and I'm not thinking mechanics. Brad, I struggle with getting across the line at the top. Your right arm video has helped. What other fields or drills can you address? So you could get across the line because a couple different reasons. Two of the main ones would be, so if I'm here like this at the top, and I have what people would call a flying right elbow at the top, will make me go across the line. See the difference between there and there? So if you are going across, because your right arm's too internally rotated right at the top, so you'd be more this way at the top, one option would be to take that internal rotation away, and that will get you more back on plane. So keeping your elbows closer together, having your trail shoulder more externally rotated is option one. I also could do it through forearm rotation. Here's me flying right elbow, still keep the flying right elbow, but change my forearm rotation, right? So from here, if I go like this at the top, the club would lay off. This would be supination of my right arm. Here like this would lay the club off. Here's supination, here's pronation. So when I go like this, if I pronate this way, at the top, that would be me more across the line. If I supinate at the top, that would go more here. So I can do it through forearm rotation. I can also do it through wrist conditions. The more I flatten out my trail wrist, I'm more across the line. The more I bend my wrist back, the more I'm not. Left wrist, the more I cut my left wrist, the more I'm across the line. The more I flatten it out, the more I'm not. So you have internal, external rotation of the trail shoulder options. You have forearm rotation options, and you have flexion extension options. So you get a lot of options. This is all this stuff, like when I'm explaining the technical stuff to you guys, like the key is like which one of those three do you do and how do you fix it? And then someone else before when I said the slide, I could spew all this out, why the CogornoGolf.com is so valuable, why you come to see me or do an online lesson or golf school or something, is that I can tell you which one of those you should do, how to do it, and then explains the process. I think the issue is when you guys try, A, you don't know the information I just said, right? Let's be realistic. And number two, which one applies to you and how do you do it? How do you feel? How do you practice it? So that's where I would check out the membership site. That's why we built it, or check out our golf schools or something where I can help you through that process. Sweating in here. Josh, is it hot in here? Just me, I'm on fire.
Yeah, that's it.
Josh, how can you avoid pushing your irons to the right? Usually if it's a straight push with no curve, that is a path problem. So, I mean, it depends, again, without seeing your swing, this could be something big, could be something little. Generally speaking, if you see pushes straight to the right, and you have a path problem too far inside out. Now, if you see pushes with that path problem, a lot of times you'd see hook problems as well. So if it's a push and a hook, it's probably a path problem. If it's curving to the right, then it's a face problem. So if it's a path problem, you're coming too far from the inside for whatever reason. That could just be literally that your ball's too far back in your stance. That could be because you're swinging too far from the inside. That could be because you lack rotation, you slime, and there could be, you could tilt too much. So I have to see it, but I would search my name, and cure your hook drills would be where I would start with that to fix the inside path. Let's see here. Okay, the more I shallow the downswing, the harder it is to close the face. My grip is already strong. Basically, it feels like my hands never turn the corner. They just raise and leave the face wide open. Yeah, so then don't shallow as much, or learn how to square the face. How would you do that? You know, I'd have to see what you're currently doing. If your grip's already strong, then you need to make sure you have the wrist conditions good. So when you come down, if my club's behind me and I have a cup left wrist, flat right wrist, face is open. If I have a flat left wrist, bent back right wrist, it's more square. If I really exaggerate how back my right wrist is and my left wrist down, then my face is down. So you have, if your grip is there, you have the option of wrist conditions would be the main part I would look at to close the face. Because the more and more and more I shallow it, you can't do it. You can add some late supination, but really at the bottom, you'd be looking at left wrist flexing, unhinging, and supinating. Those three movements go together. Left wrist flexing, unhinging, and supinating, or trail wrist more bent back and a little bit of pronation will be the part you'd have to match with that if you're going to square the face if your grip is already neutral. Good, okay, Robert. Improvements with driver were immediate. Irons were much better in studio. I'm wagering it's me. Yes, I believe it is you as well. But I asked my question because I've been told it'll take some time to get comfortable and see benefits. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if I agree with that. I think I'm certainly no club fit. I don't fit clubs. I'm no club fitting expert. Just going on my experience in players that I've worked with, I think it should be pretty immediate. I mean, there's still a lot of factors in there to say. So hopefully it gets good for you. Joey, I've been hitting the ball great, and they got a case of the Hazel Rockets. I worked through it and determined my weight shift was not getting my left foot. Does that make sense? Could be, yeah, could be. It's not something I see every time where like your weight would hang back and someone gets shanks. I think it has more to do with where your pressure is in terms of your toes or heels, where your body is. But if there was reactions that happen to that, that could make sense. Arsene, are you ever going to make golf vlogs like Golf City? Like Golf City Golf Hall? Yeah, we are going to do some more on course, like vloggy style stuff as we go and see if we like it. Our sweet spot is like the how-to swing mechanical videos, but we are going to do more of the live lessons like we used to, and we are going to do more on-course stuff and see what we like as we go. So we'll probably do some of that within like the next month or so, I would anticipate. And if we like it and you guys like it and we think it's good, maybe we will do more of that. Mel, I'm 80 years old, 2 hip implants. How do I generate some speed? Following through is tough. Yeah, I don't know, Mel. You know, that might be one where your speed might not go up that much and you need to look at other areas how to gain distance. I think if your speed doesn't go up, you need to look at optimizing angle of attack would be part number 1. So the more you hit up on the ball, the farther the ball will go. The more you hit down on the ball, the shorter it will go. And you need to look at optimizing things like dynamic loft, launch angle, and spin rate. So for you, or like the slower your club head speed is, the more you need dynamic loft, the more you need to get the ball up in the air so it carries far enough. How would you create speed with 2 hip? I'm not familiar enough with hip implants to say. I would say in general, when you're creating speed, the same things that would apply. We did a senior golfer video, best swing for senior golfers, a little bit ago. If you want to watch that, we're going to do a senior golfer masterclass that's going to come up as well. And I mean, how you generate speed would be the same way as everyone else. I would look at big turns on both sides. I would look at pressure shifts, using the ground better. So I think for you individually, relative to your situation, I'm not sure how you would do it different. Yeah, you have to test some of those things out. Chris, any good drills to promote turn through as opposed to drop right shoulder and tilt? Any good drills to promote turn through? Yeah, so ton of them. So during the downswing, there's going to be some, when you say you drop right shoulder, there's going to be some right side bend here like this. The thing is, if I do right side bend and don't turn, it looks like I have too much tilt. If I have right side bend as I'm rotating, that would be fairly normal. So if you look up the videos we did on right shoulder, if you search my name in right shoulder, we did a video on how the right shoulder works, where it's working down with right lateral bend and rotation. So you have to feel like you get your right side, right hip through. So if you search my name in right shoulder, you'll see that video. There's also right side feels for rotation we did a couple months ago. We'll answer that question much more in detail. Jonathan, I heard once that golfers peak in the first year of them playing. Do you believe this, or that any golfer with proper teaching can be scratched? Yeah, I definitely don't think that's true. I don't see any reason why someone would peak in their first year. I'm way better than my first year. Most everyone I work with is a lot better than they were in their first year, so I'm calling that false. Mary's throwing some stuff on here. Okay, we're gonna go off to come to school. Oh, Mary, beautiful. Robert, do you use your hands, wrists at all on your putting stroke, or you keep them passive? There's going to be some hand and wrist motion. The idea of like keeping all of that passive and no hand arm action is a good idea for someone who does this, right? But I also don't want you to be like a robot. So there should be some hand and arm action. If you look at David Orr, Flat Stick Academy, is the guy that I always go to for putting advice and watch his stuff. David Orr, 2 O's, David Orr. Flat Stick Academy has some awesome stuff on putting. Or James Seekman, I like a lot too. I'm having a really hard time getting higher loft and distance consistent with my driver. You have any tips? Yeah, without seeing you swing, I cannot give you any good advice in terms of how to do it. It depends on why you have not enough loft. Maybe your grip's too strong. Maybe your wrist conditions are too flexed. Maybe the ball's too far back in your stance. Maybe your head goes too far forward during your downswing. Maybe your angle of attack is too steep. So you got to look at those areas first. And you have to really determine which, like all you guys have questions on this, you really have to determine why you're doing what you're doing to fix it. So if someone says like, hey, I'm hitting it to the left, what do I do? You have to find out why am I hitting it to the left and then go through the process of fixing it. So yeah, you have to figure out why you're doing that. I can give you some stock stuff, but I would say those would be the most common things I would see, but I have to see which one. Can you speak about wrist conditions back and up from first parallel to the top, Frank? Wrist conditions, I can see that you're stuck on this one a little bit because we talked about this a couple times. Your wrist conditions are relative to your grip, assuming a normal grip. So assuming a normal grip. These, out my collarbone, slight cup, right wrist is pretty flat. From normal setup to first parallel, there's going to still be a slight cup in your left wrist, and your right hand will be slightly bent back to get the face here. By the time I get to left arm parallel, it should be flat. At the top, still flat. So neutral grip, little cup at address, still slightly cupped at first parallel, flat here at chest, flat at the top. If you have a strong grip, which would be V by the right collarbone, definitely cupped at first parallel, still slightly cupped here and still slightly cupped at the top. If you have a weak grip, you're bowed at first parallel, bowed here, bowed here. So with a neutral grip, you would be slightly cupped at first parallel, flat at left arm parallel, flat at the top. Of course, that's just this motion. Then there's hinging, right? So from normal setup, normal grip, you're going to have how much hinge? By the time I'm first parallel, you have hinge to the point where the club is parallel to the ground. At here, you're looking for about 90 degrees. And then at the top, you're probably at 90, you're just past 90. So you're here, boom, 90, 90. So those would be the checkpoints you need to hit, and then you would adjust your feels accordingly relative to which side you're too far on. Sean, what do you think of Jim Hardy's one-plane swing? Like it? Two-plane swing, like it. Would you advocate a one-plane? I wouldn't advocate either. I think different people, so Jim Hardy's one-plane swing would be like the idea of going up like this and down on the same plane. Two-plane would be getting it more down the line and then dropping more under. I think both are cool. I think if you go up and down one plane or kind of looking like it's on one plane, maybe less speed, but maybe more consistency for some of you guys. If you get the club more two-plane or more down the line, you can create more speed from there. You can make an argument that you can shallow it more from there. But that's not going to work for everyone. I mean, if you look at good players, there's a lot of good players that just keep it right here and then boom, right back down. If you go up to the top like this and then come this way, I would say when you go more down the line or across, you got to be really good with your pivot to make that work. If you're more here, where you're just up one plane and come back down, you can get away with some slide, you can get away with lack of rotation. So if your pivot's not good, more one plane would be better. If your pivot's really good, you can go more down the line or across the line. There's definitely speed benefits from going down the line or more across it. Brad, oops. Hitting more flush on mats, but taking it on grass, hitting more fast. Suggestions, hit off grass all the time. Ken, how much hip depth do you prefer on the backswing? I see in video I go back quite a bit. The opposite on the down. So yeah. So Brad, yeah, in terms of mat or grass, do I see any sort of mechanical advice that I could give you from there? I do not. I see no reason why that should be the case, or nothing to recommend. It doesn't happen to me. It doesn't happen to people that I work with often. I think that's just a comfort thing or like environment thing. And maybe you're not hitting it flush on the mat. Maybe you're hitting a little behind and just don't know. So I would say, honestly, I think the easiest thing is just hit off grass all the time until that's normal. And then you can introduce the mat back in. Okay, hip depth do you prefer? So hips, I would say I'd address your square, 15, 30, 45. So you turn your hips 15 degrees by here, 30 by here, 45 by the top. How deep do you go? When I take my normal address position, I want knees over the balls of the feet and the butt line not super far behind the heel line. The butt line maintains. So as you're turning, the pressure on the balls of my feet, the pressure on my right foot goes slightly towards my heel, but my butt line maintains. If you draw a line down your butt at setup, you shouldn't go behind it and you shouldn't go in front of it. If you go behind it back this way, which usually means there's too much pressure on your right heel, then you're going to always do the opposite and come forward. So if you get more tall at address and even stay more here forward, keep your butt line close to your toe line, then you can sit back and turn. But if you go back, going back, you're going to always react to that forward. So you want to maintain butt line relative to where you start, not create depth going back. If you create depth going back, you can't create depth coming down. If you create depth going back, you cannot create depth coming down. Jacob, I need help with hitting the ball lower. I've been known to early extend, but have decent distance. If you want to hit the ball lower, you need two things. One, lower dynamic loft, and or two, more angle to attack down. How do you do that? There's a lot involved. You need to make sure your club face is at least square. It'd be better if your swing direction was a little bit more slightly from inside for that. But club face more square. So is your club face at least square? If your club face is open at all, not going to work because your body's never going to do that to get the handle more forward. To get the less dynamic loft, your handle has to go forward. To get the handle forward, you need to be able to turn and pivot. To be able to turn and pivot, you need to have at least a square club face, or your brain will never do that. So there's short-term wrist conditions I could tell you, like, hey, get your left wrist more flexed, right wrist more bent back. But in reality, you need a bunch of things. So that would be one thing. Why is it going too high, right? Why is it happening? Is your club face too open and you're early extending to square it? Are you too steep and you're early extending to shallow it? Is your weight too far on your heels at address and you're early extending to react from that? So you have to find out why, again, going back to before, you have to find out why you're early extending to fix it. If you're early extending, which just means you don't have the turn before you extend, you're going this way, there's a reason for it. It's either your face is open and you're early extending to square it. It could be because you're too steep and you're early extending to shallow. If I go here like this and I stand up, if my shaft's steep, we're gonna do a video on this, and I stand up, what happens to my shaft? It shallows. When I go like this, if you're steep early, you stand up because the shaft lays down. Now, if my chest gets farther from the ball, my arms have to lengthen. If my chest gets farther from the ball, my arms have to lengthen, which means my right wrist lengthens, which means I have no dynamic loft control. So you have to figure out why you're doing that to fix that, and then you can start fixing it. Joey, can older golfers keep a good golf swing by incorporating yoga or workouts that stress flexibility? Yes. I cringe seeing these old greats have a stiff and armsy swing. Yes. Yeah, but the reality is when you get older, you get older. Like Father Time's undefeated. None of us are getting away from that. You are not going to move when you're 75 like you did when you're 25. But I think to mitigate some of that, definitely flexibility, yoga, working out, nutrition, hydration. I mean, there's a lot of parts to that, joint health. But yeah, they're coming up soon. Richard, I played with my girlfriend. Lately, she's been hitting her irons on top of the ball, causing it to bounce, literally straight in there and fall down where it was. How to fix that? Yeah, Richard would have to see that to say for sure. A lot of times what will happen would be during the downswing, it could be one of two things. A lot of times with top shots, the arm structure goes, the elbows get farther apart. So literally this lever, here's how long this is, right? Here's me with the club fully flexed. If I bend my arms, the club gets farther from the wall, right? So if I apply that down here, if this is my normal impact position and I bend my arms too much, the club comes up in the air. So I would top it. That would be associated with a left wrist breaking down, arms too bent. So now again, it depends on why that's happening. Is she doing that because her face is too open? Is she doing it because she doesn't rotate enough? What I would do is make sure she's a good grip, make sure her wrist conditions are good and their club face was good, and get the downswing where her arms are extending past impact, the arms are extending past impact, and she's fully turned. So belt buckle, shirt buttons at the target with arms fully extended like this. Then, of course, there's the flexion extension. Does she stand up during her downswing? Is it ball position? I'd have to be able to see that. Let's see, Joey, I can consistently carry 290 to 300 with the driver. Row extension, my issue, should I expect more yards if I fix that? No, probably not. No, you probably will not gain distance because extension is a power thing. You may gain distance if you're hitting it off center contact and the overextension or lack of extension makes the contact better. What I would expect to happen is your direction control or dispersion would get a lot better. Yep, you are welcome, you are welcome. Any tips on how to become competitive in golf, starting with local tourneys? If so, then what? Yeah, you go level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, just like anything else. You crawl, walk, run. So you would compete locally and then regionally in the state and then past state and then just keep building from there. So compete until you feel comfortable with your local tournaments. And then depending upon what your goals are, your goal is to shoot 65 and win. Is your goal to break 80? And then do state level stuff and then do regional level stuff. That's all. Roger, how about grip pressure throughout the swing? You prefer say 4 out of 10 all the way? Yeah, I think there's no such thing as a good answer there. And I say that because I've talked to really good players and I've got all kinds of different answers. Some guys and gals tell me that they barely hold it, like 1 out of 10. Other guys and gals grip 10 out of 10. I think the key is if your hands are going to be firm, your arms still need to be loose. I'm okay with your grip pressure being pretty tight if you have loose arms, okay? Which is not the easiest thing to do, but you can do it. I'm gripping this tight and I'm loose. Some people are loosey-goosey the whole way, that's fine. I would say what you should try and do is whatever you start with. So if you start 6 out of 10, try and stay 6 out of 10. I see a lot of people go, they're like 4 out of 10 at address, and then they're 8 out of 10 during the takeaway. So they're like real light, and then they grip it real hard during the backswing. It's like if I'm 6 out of 10, I want to stay 6 out of 10 for the whole swing. So I would just try and maintain whatever you start with. I just want to thank you for your yeah, you are welcome. Question on a chip or pitch shot. Are your hands passive, or do you add some hands at low point of swing? So when you're doing a chip or pitch shot, of course there are different types of chips or pitches. I would say as kind of a stock answer, again, of course these answers will be like relative to what you're doing, like what you should feel will be relative to what you're doing. But as a stock answer, if I was hitting a normal chip shot, ball would be just back a middle, feet close, shaft neutral. When I make a backswing, I'm not going to have 0 hinge, but I'm also not going to have 1,000,000 hinge. I'm going to have a neutral amount of hinge back. And then when I come through, I'm not going this way, and I'm not going this way. I'm soft, letting this gradually release until I'm about parallel to shaft or just slightly forward, and I'm letting that gradually release. So this would be like a neutral shot, would be about here, here. If I was going low, I might go ball more back, more here and hold. If I'm going high, I'd go ball more forward, face more forward, more hinge back, more release. So neutral would be here, low would be here, high would be here. So it depends on the height of the shot. And then there's different strategies. Guys like Jason Day chip with very little hinge and a wide arc on both ways, right? Other guys that I've seen, like a Charlie Wee, could go here and get more narrow and more narrow with the hand pass. So there's different ways to do it. Roger, thank you. You're welcome. Dan, I have a narrow stance with all my clubs, including my driver. My iron game is good, but driver I hit right and left. You think having a wider stance with the driver can help a consistent ball flight? Probably not. I mean, I think that there's probably something else going on for that. I like to see, and what I see good players do would be ankles, even with the shoulders with a short iron, slightly wider with mid to longer, and then definitely outside of shoulder with the ankles with the driver when I'm trying to produce more speed. Do I think that's going to fix your driver problems? Probably not, but if it does, then cool. Does it have like an effect on another part that does it? You know, maybe. Let's see. George has, okay. I assume someone's posting something. Okay. How do I get more left bend in transition for better compression with my short irons? I can't get any trouble with 9-iron. So when you take a normal setup position, if I have a wedge, I have about no tilt. And then with like an 8-iron, I might have about 3 degrees of tilt. Let's say 7-iron, or let's say 8-iron, 2 to 3 degrees, 7-iron, 3 to 4. Driver might be like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 if you're a long drive guy. So I set up with right bend. During my backswing, I'm going to get rid of my right bend and introduce some left bend, which would be this here. So the fact that I'm bent to the left, this is me standing straight up and down. I have some left bend, which is just this during my backswing. So in transition, you want to maintain some of that left bend until you get to about left arm parallel. So I'm left bend, left bend, left bend, left bend, left bend, neutral. So by the time I get back to left arm parallel, I should be back to about straight up and down. And then from there through, I'm going to add some more right side bend, right side bend, right side bend as I'm turning. How do you do that if you don't have enough? You go to the top, make sure you have enough at the top. So get the shoulders about 90 degrees to the back line. And then as you begin transition, you would want to feel like your left shoulder goes down and left. You want to feel like from here, your left shoulder goes down and left behind you as you begin transition. Now notice how I'm too far forward this way. That's an exaggerated feel. In reality, you'd be more neutral here. You'd add in some right side bend, so you'd be more neutral. And then you can go through normal from there. But you feel your left shoulder going more down and around if you don't have enough. Would be the answer to that. Joey, last questions from me today. I started the early extension of my main issue, got rid of it, but started the shank hook. Fix that with your takeaway backswing, right side bend, in down. Now, early extension is issue again. Yeah, I mean, I think I'd have to see your swing to be able to kind of say why that would happen or what to do to fix it, but hopefully you get that under control, my friend. Awesome content, thanks. You're welcome, you're very welcome. I have always hit the ball too low. Please provide some tips. When you hit the ball too low, that's because your dynamic loft is too low, or your angle of attack is too steep, or you're hitting it too low in the club face. Your dynamic loft is too low, you're hitting too far down angle of attack, or you're hitting it low in the club face. Now, why are you doing that? I have no idea. I would need to see your swing. Common theme here, I need to see your swing. So again, you guys, if you check out cogornogolf.com, it's $39. You post your swing up, I help you. Okay, this is, yeah, like you guys should be on there for that. If I saw your swing, I could literally tell you why you hit it too low in 2 seconds. And how to fix it. Yeah, but you got to pay for that, right? You got to pay a couple $39. So anyway, yeah, I'd have to see what you're doing, why those are. Could be too many things for me to make a guess. Ball position, upper body motion, downswing too far over the top. I mean, who knows? It could be a lot of things. But you have to figure out which one and then correct that. Robert, I've been occasionally laying the sod over, finning or sticking the club in the ground from 10 to 50 yards. Lots of thoughts in my head. What thoughts do you recommend? None at all. I need to see what you're doing. Why are you hitting it fat? You know, usually that's too much. And you said from 10 to 30. So from 10 to 30, you know, inside of 30 yards, you should be looking at using the bounce. So usually when you're hitting it fat, that's too much leading edge digging and you want to use the bounce. How do you use the bounce? If you search my name and bounce, you'll see some videos that'll go through it more in depth. But there, you know, Robert, and this is the issue with these is like, there's just too many reasons why you could be doing that for me to throw out a guess and expect to be accurate. There's just too many reasons. I mean, literally, you could be hitting it fat because the ball's too far back. You could have too much tilt at address. You could have too much weight during your setup on your right foot. You could move off the ball too much during your backswing. You could start too far left and come back to the right. You could go right, stay right. You could early release. You could be swinging your takeaway too far inside. Your downswing could be too far inside. You could be curling it down too much. You get the picture. I mean, there could be 50 reasons why you hit that fat. So I would have to see to say for sure on why that is. I would suggest watching the wedge videos we did and make sure your setup's really neutral, ball position neutral, weight neutral, shoulders neutral. Make sure the backswing, the takeaway is on plane or slightly outside your hands, more outside, and make sure you have good rotation on the way through. Those would be some things, and I would not be shy about letting this release during the downswing and not trying to hold on to it too much with leading edge. Joey, you are welcome, my friend. Let's see. I'm awful at seeing the break on the greens. Like aim at left edge, putt 1 foot right bad. Is there any good way to train my eyes? Or maybe a way to break. Yeah, I would. If you search my name in green reading, you'll see we did a lesson a while ago that with a clock system that you would use that. I would also look up aim point. If you look up aim point, that'd be like the best way to train it, but it requires some time. If you look up that clock system we did, you'll kind of go over it like that. That would be the best way I would do that. And then you would practice, like learn how to read the greens and then find a 6-footer and that breaks 1 cup to the right, let's say, and put a tee in the ground 1 cup to the left, which is your aim point, and either draw a line on the green or put a string line over your ball and the tee and see a straight line from there to there and start to practice it that way. You have to practice the breaking putts. Like nobody practices green reading, right? And actually hitting putts with those breaks. So that's how I would do that. Roger, any advice on a strong lead arm? Got to swing. I play left-handed and right-handed because of hockey. When you say strong lead arm, tell me what you mean by that, Roger. Tomas, any recommendations to keep focused during a round? I start great, but fade at the end. Yeah, I would say a couple of things. I would say it's probably next to impossible for most of us to focus for a full 4 to 5 hours. So I would find ways to get out of focus in between your shots and then get back in focus for the 30 seconds that you're hitting the shot. I would practice getting external. So like I meditate every day, so it's super easy for me to be really present. Like you hear people say, get present. Well, for me, I can get present really quickly because I've been meditating every day for a couple of years. So that would be like me going through my senses, seeing things, hearing things, smelling things, feeling things. And that could be me literally like looking at the clouds, feeling the wind, hearing a bug, right? Like those sort of things, getting present in the 30 seconds I have to hit from. I also think nutrition and hydration is a huge role, right? So your focus waning through the round when you're 3 hours in, if you haven't eaten anything or you don't drink anything, you're still performing, right, when you go play. So I think hydration levels and food, or you like get a hot dog at the turn or something and have a beer or something, you can't expect to have your focus at the end like the beginning. So those are a couple of things I would keep in mind. John, is your 3-part system for the backswing a good way to create separation at the top of the swing? When you say separation, do you mean separation between your hips and your shoulders or separation from like your arms or your body? Kind of, John, tell me what you mean by that. Scott, on my pitches and chips, I sometimes fire my right arm and chunk. How can I feel more rotation? Yeah, I think do just what you said, right? So if you normally your right arm throws and you don't rotate, there's a couple things there. One, you would want to feel like your chest, right arm stays more bent, right wrist stays more bent, chest gets turning. The reality is if your chest and right shoulder don't turn towards the target, your right arm is always going to throw to get to the ball. Like if I don't turn my right side and that stops, I have to get to the ball somehow, so my right arm throws. Same thing this with my right shoulder and chest don't turn, I have to still get to the ball. Now, if I turn my right shoulder and chest, then I can keep that right arm more bent, right wrist more bent. So I would say from the top of your backswing, get your chest, right shoulder, right hip to the target sooner. Get your body moving before the arms and hands come down, and then you can be able to do the right arm, right wrist like you said. Let's see. Yeah, chest turning for sure on the short shots. Robert, thanks for all of the responses, info, and content. When I record myself for you, do you prefer plain video recorded via HUD? Just right on your phone, Robert, would be beautiful. Just right on your phone. No huddle, no VR, nothing else. I've seen on good swings like yours that the forward leg is straight at the end of the swing. Is that a result or a conscious learned position? I would say usually that is a result. Roger, the right arm leads. Yes, you had a question before. Any advice on a strong lead arm, play left-handed? Oh, you're playing left-handed, gotcha. The right arm leads. So yeah, when you say strong and right arm leading, I guess I don't think there's any issue with that. So like if I'm playing right-handed, my left arm is going to lead my swing. So I guess we got to define some terms of what you're saying when you say lead and what is actually the issue that's causing. Let's see. The reason I asked is my leg is not straight at the end of my swing, thinking it should be. Yeah, it should be straight at the end. Yeah, if you need to consciously think that, then that's perfectly cool. No tricks in terms of how to do that. I think when you come down, if you need to straighten your leg, you got to feel like your leg gets straightened, right? You might have to feel like your hip comes up and back. You might need to feel like your pelvis works forward, or like you push down out of the ground as you work up into your extension pieces. John, arm from, yeah, no, I don't think that three-piece thing would train the arms from the body. No, I think if you're too narrow this way, that's usually from a lack of body turn, and then the right arm gets more narrow. So you'd have to make sure you turn enough and get some width that way. If you search my name and right arm, you'll see some of that in terms of how to do that, or search my name and connection, best connection drills, you'll see some of that as well. Jeremy, what's going on? If you can only externally rotate your left knee a few degrees, can you still play good golf? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. If you're not going to externally rotate your leg a lot through rotation, you just have to match other pieces up to match that. There are plenty of Hall of Fame golfers who do not externally rotate their left leg a ton. So you do not have to do that to play good golf. It would be more optimal. You can create more speed. You can create more distance that way. But just like every pitcher in baseball doesn't throw 100 miles an hour, right? Every basketball player doesn't jump like LeBron James. Now that would be optimal and excellent, but you do not need to do that to play good now. Let's see. Okay, John. What are the best drills for learning how to judge distance on chipping? I would do landing zone practice. So we've done some videos if you search for my name and chipping practice. What I would do is I'd line some golf balls up on the side of the green, and I would put a towel or an object on the green, and I would hit balls from one place to that object until I got good at landing the ball there. So usually I'd start maybe let's say this is the edge of the green. I would go about one pace off, and I'd drop a bunch of balls, and I'd put a towel 1 yard on the green and hit until I could hit that. And then I'd move the towel to 2 yards and hit until I could hit that a couple times in a row, 3, 4, 5, and probably up to 10. So when I used to practice chipping, or I had kind of our junior group stuff that we would do, that was kind of the main way we would learn that skill of landing zone. Now, to be good at landing zones, you need to have good contact. So if your contact's good with chipping, then it's easier to get landing zones. If your contact is poor, fat and thin, or you have too much dynamic loft issues, like you're hitting low spinners all the time or too high, you need to get your stock shot good first. So just get good at hitting. Like if I'm hitting from here without a landing zone, I need to get good at landing the ball in the same place every time, regardless of how far it goes. If you're going, you hit shot 1 here, you hit shot 2 4 feet short, shot 3 4 feet long, you got to get good at that first, and then get good at the different landing zones by laying something in the green. That's the best way to do it. That will work if you work it. How's your swing Swing changes are coming along good. I got to tell you, I feel, and I've been telling Mary and other people that my golf game right now feels the best it ever has. I made some swing changes to my backswing, namely more turn and maintaining a little bit more left side bend when I go back. My tendency was to get a little bit up this way and not turn enough. And then I'd get narrow, and have to tilt and throw a little. So fats, thins, toes, pushes, hooks. Now I can time that sometimes and play good, but swing changes are coming along good. I made some adjustments to my chipping that are good and my putting. So I feel good. Yeah, I feel dangerous. Now I have to get on the course. Like I haven't played yet. I've been hitting balls. When we do our filming, I hit like, I don't know, 20 or 30 balls, maybe twice a week. So I feel good with that, but you got to play. So if I can get out and play a couple times, then we'll see. Mac, had an online lesson last year. Yes, you did. What's going on? Shaved an average of 4 to 5 strokes off per round. Beautiful. Helping my consistency hitting the ball farther. Great channel. Awesome. Thank you. So yeah, that's a good example too, Mac. So Mac says, had an online swing analysis done last year from Eric. Shaved an average of 4 to 5 strokes off per round, just helping my consistency of hitting the ball better. Great channel. So listen, and this is not to like boast of look at me, whatever, but like if you work the pieces that I mentioned, and like that's a sign of him doing the work, right? You have to do the stuff that I tell you to. But when I can physically see your swing, show you what to do, and I think, Mac, maybe we did 1, maybe 2, right? So if I can see your swing and show you what to do and you actually do it, then you for sure are going to get better. Like you're going to hit the ball better, you're going to score lower in there. So and that's across the board. In-person lessons, online lessons, golf school, CogornoGolf.com. If you watch the videos and I can't see you and help you, you probably still will get better, right? But if I can see what you're doing, I can expedite the process so much quicker. That's why I think the membership site, and that was the whole purpose of it. And I hope that you guys check that out because that's the goal there. Let's see, Scott, what are the best foolproof keys to using the bounce in the short game? None. There's no foolproof keys to anything, but no, just kidding. I think in terms of using the bounce, there's a couple of things that are relevant. So if I want to get good at the bounce, I want the ball position to be more middle. If the ball gets too far back, that's going to be tough. I want the shaft to be very neutral. If the shaft gets too far forward, that's going to be tough. The face at address is huge. If my club face is square or closed, that means more leading edge. The more I open the club face, the more bounce I get exposed to. Weight in my feet. I don't want to be too far forward. I'm going to dig too much. I want to be neutral. So ball position middle, shaft neutral, face slightly open. When I make my backswing, I need to keep the face open. I need to keep the face open. If my face is tilted down, too much leading edge. On a chip shot for bounce, not full swing, I want the face to be slightly open like this. If you got to cup your left wrist a little, that's fine. Okay, maybe even preferred. And then when you come down during your downswing, you want to line the shaft back up 90 at impact. You don't want to have the shaft leaning way forward. That's cool for a lower shot. For bounce, neutral. And you got to let that release a little bit, like really feel a little throw action in there, a little bit of chest turn. Those would be the pieces that I would look for. Let's see. I didn't see them on your site. Do you do playing lessons? Okay. Yeah, I do just regular lessons based on time. And if you wanted to do playing within that time, we could do that. Yeah, Mac, I was going to say, Mac, I thought we did 1. But I'm glad to hear that you're moving in the right direction, my friend. That's beautiful. Christoph. Hi, I have problems with my hips moving too early, get stuck behind. Have you got any tips to better cover the ball? I would say if you watch search my name, and there was 2 best connection drills. One was with the alignment rod underneath your right arm, and 2 was with the ball between your arms. So kind of syncing things up or keeping things connected, that would be something like a Tour Striker Smart Ball. So Martin Chuck's Tour Striker Smart Ball, where it keeps your elbows close together, prevents your arms from running on too long during the backswing, and it's a lot easier for them to get back in front of you when you come down. So you have to, when you look at that, say either I need to not have my hips get so far out in front, right? Or I need to learn how to get my arms back in front of me, one of the two. I would get a Tour Striker Smart Ball, see how much that fixes first before you start digging into doing anything else. Definitely doing an online analysis. Yeah, you guys should all do an online analysis. Like, honestly. It's interesting because, like, I have a bias and I want that to sound stupid, but, like, me, myself, as a golfer right now, if I wanted to improve, I would do an online analysis with myself. Like, honest, that's the best thing. I do that. Yeah, like, That's what I do. Like when I want to work my swing, I record it and I do an analysis just like I would for there. Me or like a handful of people, maybe 2 or 3 people, if I'm being honest. Anyway, it was great. I sent 2, I don't even know if I would do that. Maybe 1 or 2 guys I do an online analysis with, along with myself, maybe. It was great. Sent 2 videos in, 1 head on, 1 from behind. Changed my swing were subtle, but little things never was doing. Yeah, awesome. That's usually what the things are too, right? Like a lot of you guys will have a general idea of what's going on and why. But I think like when I go, it's like detail, it's the detail-oriented things and making sure you focus on the correct 1 or 2 pieces to begin with, like the order of things. Yeah, it's just the best. It's just the best thing. John, can you demonstrate some smash bag drills that you recommend? No, I don't ever do any of those. So no, I don't ever have a bag. I don't ever do that. I think you could probably learn. And like I did some of that when I was younger. Like I saw other coaches doing that, but I never really worked like hitting into a bag. I think you probably could do some of that where the acceleration, deceleration is of value. I like, what I found to work for me and other people is you swing, you record it, you analyze it in detail, you find the priorities, you work on those, you give yourself heavy feedback, you go slow and short until you get them, and you stack those on, and then you make legitimate, serious progress. I'm not talking about like it's better one session, not the next, it's up, down, middle. I'm talking like legitimately change your swing, legitimately change your game. That's how I found best to do it. Now, having said that, some of those drill type things maybe work, cool. That's just not something I did. Something I've been doing a lot more now too is more of the impact drills. We used to do a lot of those when we were younger. I see George Gankis on there doing a bunch in his videos. And I like doing that. I kind of like forgot about that and stopped doing a lot of them, but getting an awareness of where you're supposed to be at impact and then getting back to that part and putting things around, I think is a really good training drill. It's similar to the smash bag stuff. Can you demonstrate how to maintain width throughout the swing? Width has a lot to do with how much body turn and pivot you have. When you make a backswing, everyone that gets too narrow, which is this right arm getting too bent, and then a lot of times this being bent, doesn't have enough turn. So like if I stop my turn here, I can get to about here, but then I want to have some swing length, so I get narrow. Now, if I have a big turn, then I can keep some width as I go back. So it really has more to do about the trail arm, in my opinion. When I go back at the top, I'm trying to get 90 degrees on a stock model. So I'd be about 30 degrees bent here, 60 degrees bent here, 90 at the top, or 150, 120, 90 at the top, and then maintaining the width in transition. From the top, if I open my chest and shoulders too quick, I typically would get too narrow. If I keep that how it's supposed to be in transition, so by the time I get to left arm parallel during my downswing, you should still be about 45 degrees close with your shoulders. If I keep that back as I'm turning, then I can keep width. If I open up too early, then I'm going to get too narrow and usually steep. So, you know, torque striker ball between your elbows would be good for that. Making sure good pivot, feeling more width. You can do like a bucket between your chest and your arms would be a good drill for that. Okay, I have 2 minutes, so I'm going to try and roll through a couple of these because I got to go right after this. At what time during the swing is your pressure on your lead leg? I would say you start 50-50, shifting pressure to the right through the whole backswing. Right before the end of the backswing, it's shifting forward towards the left leg. So immediately before the end of the backswing, and then gradually through the whole downswing. 48 handicap for 2 years now. Really gonna go below 36. Do you believe it's possible? That's absolutely possible. I'd have to, depending upon a bunch of different circumstances, that might happen relatively quickly. That might take a while. I've had people who went from 48-ish to 36 really quick. I've had other people it takes a long time. There's a lot of variables involved there. So I'd have to see your swing. I'd have to get some background info to tell you kind of how long to expect. And then it depends on what kind of work you're going to put in and consistently put in work. So like if it doesn't happen right away, are you going to keep going or are you going to stop? Okay, I'm going to do like 2 more. Can you show close up of the left forearm action required to keep your swing from getting too flat? I don't have enough time to go through that thoroughly. You want to go here. So make sure it's in line with your hands at first parallel. If you go too flat, your left hand goes too much up towards the sky. You want to have the back of your hand more away from you, pointed this way. So back of the hand away from you, keep it more away from you, get it more down the line. More up towards the sky would go more flat, depending on where you want it to be at the top. Pain has always been having lessons that completely ruin whatever progress I think I do and really keep frustrating. Yeah, so either that lesson you got wasn't good, or your application of the lesson wasn't good, or you didn't know exactly what you were supposed to do when you left that lesson. Because I did a lesson the other day we recorded, and he was hitting it really bad for like 10 minutes within the lesson, but I can guide him through it, and then he was hitting it way better by the end of the lesson. So hitting it worse doesn't necessarily mean not progress. You have to know what you're doing and how to do it and how to practice. So, okay, I have to go because I have a doctor's appointment. We're going to leave now. Next Monday, and then moving forward, we are going to be at 5 o'clock normally. So this is 1 week only. Thank you guys for, oh, that's the George guy that's on there. Not yet, no, not yet, but maybe later. So again, check out the membership site if you guys haven't been on there to post your swing up. Golf schools, we have a couple people, we had some really good feedback with that. We do have some spots open for May and June. If you guys want to do 3-day golf schools, let me know with that. Next Monday back to 5 o'clock. Hope everyone enjoyed the Masters. Ridiculous day yesterday. I was crying and sweating and yelling. It was cool. I'm sweating now too. So I'm going to go. Hope all is well. See you guys next week.